Live to see it, friends, and welcome to The World Transformed. This program is your guide to an astounding future that lies ahead, one that will be here sooner than you think, and one that you have an important role to play in bringing about. At The World Transformed, we want to introduce you to what may be the greatest transformation of them all, the one that begins with considering and acting on the almost limitless possibilities that lie before us, and that ends somewhere beyond the reach of the human imagination. So, when does this amazing future begin? Well, today is the day. My name is Phil Bowermaster, and with me in the virtual studio is my co-blogger, co-futurist, and co-host, Stephen Gordon. Hello, Stephen.
Hey, Phil, how are you?
Well, I am super fantastic. How are you, my friend?
Well, man, I'm great, because so far you have not replaced me with a robot, Stephen. So, there you are.
Well, so far tonight I haven't. That's right.
Yeah, who knows what the future holds, right?
That's right. But that's timely observation, because of course tonight we're talking about preventing the economic robot apocalypse. Before we get too deep into our topic tonight, though, I just want to say I am still totally basking in the glow from Wednesday's show when we had Nick Danilov on talking about his new book. Folks, if you haven't heard that one, after you listen to this one, go back and listen to Nick talking about his book. That was a fun half hour, wasn't it?
It was, and the book. What I haven't gotten all the way through it, Phil, but what I've read, it's great. I think we definitely recommend his book.
Well, I'll tell you one thing I meant to tell him, but I'll just say it to you, the listeners, is if you've watched his podcasts much, if you've listened to them or watched them on YouTube, a lot of the material is familiar, but it's very interesting reading versus hearing something. Have you ever noticed the difference between the two? It's like you can pick up on things that you didn't notice when you were watching it on TV. I guess you have to be more mentally engaged to read or something like that. Anyway, so if you think, well, I've seen all these interviews, the book's probably worth reading anyway. That's my suggestion. Yeah. So we'll just help. We're just going to plug Nick's book every time we do a show. I think from here on in, it's just that good. But we have to stop because we got to talk about preventing the economic robot apocalypse. That's our topic tonight. And I thought, it'd be good to get specific, right? Because there's a lot of different flavors of robot apocalypse, and the one we're talking about tonight is a very specific flavor of robot apocalypse. That's the economic robot apocalypse. That's the robots coming to get our jobs. And we got a couple of good stories that, I don't know, are they precursors of this? Are they foreshadowing of the economic robot apocalypse? What do you think, Stephen?
Well, absolutely, I think that. It's very, it's a very specific story we're going to look at first, out of China, involving a factory floor and what occurred there. It was pretty big. It's a pretty big factory, originally manned by 650 employees, right?
Yeah. They had 650 people. Now they're down to 60. The thing is, they put in machines to replace those 590. Essentially, it's called 600 people that they replaced. Production went up by 250%. Defects dropped by 80%. If that doesn't tell the whole story of automation, right there, it's just those numbers. You can just kind of hear the tick, tick, tick from human factory workers.
I suspect the robots don't take nearly as much sick leave, and and concerned about working conditions, and there's just all kinds of things, all kinds of benefits to if you're running a factory and you're wanting to reduce the headaches, reduce your employee workforce. It seems like almost a natural thing, but that's pretty scary too, isn't it? So.
Well, I think it's scary if you haven't internalized the idea that there just aren't going to be people working at factories anymore, right? It's scary to people who haven't accepted that. I think I'm pretty much there. I think I've been there for a few years now, but it's interesting that this is still news. There's been an awful lot of talk in the U.S. after the presidential election, during the presidential election, after the presidential election about bringing manufacturing jobs back to the U.S. And I'm hopeful that we might find a way to do that. I'm very skeptical that you just bring them back, though, right? For exactly this reason, right? Those jobs don't exist anymore, right? Machines can do them now. We talked a while back about how jobs that went from the U.S. to Mexico, then went from Mexico to China, then went from China from humans doing them to machines doing them, right? I mean, that's what you're seeing in this story. That is the last stage of that progression right there, isn't it? So, all is proceeding as someone has foreseen. That's for sure. And it's the handwriting appears to be on the wall for the traditional shift factory work kind of position. I still think there's manufacturing work available to people. I think there are scenarios where people are going to be doing manufacturing in the future where we're going to be doing it on our desktop. We're going to be more like makers maybe, and have to be more entrepreneurial in terms of being manufacturers. But man, yeah, I think the robots are taking those jobs. They have been for a while. I mean, really, when you think about it, we've been hearing about robots taking human jobs away since the 80s, right?
Yeah, and they have been. I mean, I heard an interesting example, Phil, of the number of bank teller jobs. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The ATMs are a product of the 70s, really, early 70s even. The first ATM machines. And of course, as ATM machines went in, the number of bank tellers within each particular branch went down. But if you look nationwide, the number of bank teller jobs has actually increased slightly. Why not? Well, we have more branches now, and the bank teller job has changed some. It's less of a job where they're just handing out money, which the machine can do, right? They're basically selling monetary services now. It's a little higher level job, requiring a little more training, I'm sure. But there are actually more bank tellers than there were before. Now that can't be said of every job,
Right.
I mean, travel agents didn't fare so well. I mean, various travel websites have pretty much, taken out the travel agents as a business. It's not there anymore. And there are other jobs that you can point to and say, hey, that's just, nobody does that anymore because of this technological change or that. And but bank tellers has been used as an example, and it's actually a counterexample.
That's interesting. That is very interesting. I think we'll see pockets of that for sure, where we'll maybe see a lot of healthcare workers of one kind or another be replaced by machines, but probably have a whole nother like a whole slew of new kinds of healthcare workers show up. Right? I think there are certain areas where the automation will truly, the thing we were always promised is just enable humans to work on higher value things, right? There are pockets where that occurs, and it sounds like being a bank teller is one of them. But if you don't have the higher value proposition, and in fact, arguably, that's kind of what I was saying around manufacturing, right? Where if you're doing maker stuff, desktop manufacturing stuff, you are adding a lot more value than a line worker ever would be able to, right? So it's kind of analogous to a bank teller who's just making change and depositing checks versus one who can provide some advice and make sure you're getting into the right accounts and some of those kinds of things. What about this one though? The Shoppocalypse. Amazon planning to open robotic supermarket staffed by just 3 humans. Now the other one had 60 people, and we didn't get to it, but they said eventually it would only have 20 people. But here we go. We've got a supermarket. With 3 people downstairs and a whole bunch of robots upstairs running everything. Or did I get that wrong? Is it the people are upstairs and the robots are down? Anyway.
No, the robots are upstairs and apparently they're sorting everything and putting them on dumb waiters they come down to the floor where the 3 people are running the store. It's a remarkable concept. And what was it? Oh gosh, was it diapers.com or one of those businesses that had the shelves that were robotic that were going all over this factory floor.
Oh, right.
An amazing YouTube video. I forget. I'll find the link and we'll make sure it makes the show notes. But I mean, I can imagine that's pretty much what we're talking about with this Amazon store, right? I mean, it's it'll be robots running from one side of the store to the other in this synchronized dance, where they never hit each other, and they're all going. You can't imagine how it works, but it does. And I suspect it would be an amazing thing to see, but by design, you won't see it as a customer. You will walk in, and there'll be a smiling human person that you're looking at, and I need this, this, and this, and there it is. Here it comes, and how else can I help you, kind of thing. So that's I think that may be a model that a lot of businesses follow. People still like the human touch, right? But they also like but they also like cheap prices. And if you can provide both with just a small group of people, and imagine a McDonald's where everything, all the food is prepared by robots, right? But you still have somebody at the front counter taking your order, and have a nice day, and here's your food. So you might have the manager and maybe one or two other employees. One person in the back putting food into the machines, right? And another person up front taking, smiling for the customers and taking money. So I could see this as a model that a lot of businesses follow. And
where this one breaks down for me is they say it's a grocery store, and so I'm just trying to picture how it works. You're walking along and you pick something, and then a robot upstairs puts that in a bag for you. You're not actually touching any of it. Somehow it's tracking your movements or whatever, right? You've been logged in as a shopper, and somehow you're having a real life version of browsing a website and putting things in your shopping cart, right? But once again, you're not literally putting anything into a shopping cart. There actually is a shopping cart upstairs, and the robot's doing that part of it. But what seems strange to me about
maybe you're shopping, maybe you're going through it. It's more like a normal supermarket where you actually get to squeeze the the melon or whatever and thump it. No, I like this one, and you take that one, but it's that is immediately restocked. By the robots behind the scenes. I don't know. I'm with you on that. We don't quite have enough information to.
Yeah, we need a better description of this, because if it's not what you just said, I don't see any point in going to the store, right? Because I can order groceries online now, and if the one I'm looking at isn't the one I get, I might as well just be looking at a picture online, right? To me, that would be the difference. The reason to show up is because it's I want this tomato, right? I pick this one, right? This is the one I want to make a salad out of, or whatever.
And what you could do, if you got kind of a just-in-time delivery system of, here's you're looking at the apples, and there's basically a dozen apples instead of in a typical supermarket. There's 300 apples in front of you, right? So that way you take up much less floor space because it's being restocked in real time all the time, so that the amount of the footprint of the store can be small. It can be like a downtown store that serves the same function as a big suburban grocery store. I think to me there's a place for it. There's a niche for that, and I'm anxious to see how Amazon pulls it off.
Yeah, I am too. I'm very interested to see, because I think the model ultimately is sound. The model of taking the people out of the loop, to come back to our actual topic, is definitely sound, and there will be stores with a lot fewer people working at them. That's the bottom line. Factories and stores, and we've run the gamut on this show talking about the fact that AI, no surprise, is taking human jobs away. That is the economic robot apocalypse, if ever there was one. And if you work in a factory, if you work in a fast food place, if you work in a traditional retail setting, yeah, it's entirely possible your days are numbered. There's a bullseye, right on your forehead.
I think it was on Science Friday 3 or 4 weeks ago that they had someone on as an expert about automation and the possibility of losing jobs, and I thought the way he described it was interesting. He says that most jobs are not going to just be flat out replaced by a robot, like these guys on this factory in China. What will happen is that every job has 100 different possible tasks that you do, and some of those tasks are subject to being automated, and some are less subject to being automated.
Right.
And so over time, those things that are harder to automate become automated after the low-hanging fruit, right?
Right.
So, and so what happens is you don't ever get just out and out replaced by a robot, but the demand for people that do your particular job goes down.
Right.
The pool, instead of taking 20 accountants, to service a particular population, now it only takes 10 accountants to serve a particular population because a lot of their work has been automated. And so if you were one of the accountants that's maybe a little less successful, maybe all of a sudden you just can't make ends meet anymore because although you're still doing things that are not automated, the demand for your particular job has lessened, or at least the number of people that are required to serve this population has gone down. And so so slowly you're kind of phased out. So I think that's probably it's probably a more accurate depiction of how the economic robot apocalypse happens. It's a slow thing that's you don't necessarily see coming.
Right.
So anyway, it's kind of a bummer thought, but I think that's a little more accurate than just I lost my job to that robot right there.
Right. Yeah.
I don't think
it's more insidious than that, isn't it? Yeah. It's not.
Yeah, it really is.
You don't have necessarily the robot even to blame, the particular individual robot to blame for it. But hey, there's hope. There's hope on the horizon because you had shared with me this link. These 23 principles could help us avoid an AI apocalypse, and I thought, well, wait. Are there items in there that can help us avoid the economic robo-apocalypse? And sure enough, it turns out that there are. This is a group of 23 principles that some AI experts got together and lined out as principles that would steer AI in a positive direction to make sure it doesn't destroy us. And I think maybe we've talked about this list once before. I'm not sure, but I think we have. But whether we have or not, you can follow the link, and George Dvorsky has an article on Gizmodo talking about them. And there's also a link in there that actually goes to the 23 principles, which we've got a few of them listed here. But I don't know, as a list, they're pretty good. I feel like they're awfully high level. They're more like, to a certain extent, you could just write, "Don't make bad AI that destroys the world," right? I mean, they're one level of specificity lower than that, right? It's like the trick is in getting them implemented, right? The trick, I guess, is in somehow, getting people to go along with them. Don't you think?
Yeah, and the problem is this: that put it this way, you don't. If you're a factory owner, you're at a job. If you're the manager of a factory, and you're not the owner, you're the manager. Your job is to make money for the people who own the place, right? And so,
right.
And you can always justify what you're doing and say, well, you know what? I'm providing a great product that fails less often. It's it's a better product now than it used to be. I'm doing and I'm also selling it cheaper so that people who couldn't afford it before now can.
Right.
And so there's some jobs lost, but as a whole society benefited because we're providing this great product now much cheaper, and it's a better product than it was before. So I don't know, and I'm not 100% sure how these making robots that care it necessarily helps us because they can care and say, you know what, we care, we're making this great thing that it's that people need, and we're doing it cheaper than. If the AI could think deeply enough about it, it would probably rationalize what it's doing is just like the factory owners, right? I don't know.
Right.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, part of it is if you look at number 10, the number 10 principle was highly autonomous AI systems should be designed so that their goals and behaviors can be assured to align with human values throughout their operation. The thing is, if it's a nice AI, that's great, and if it says, well, I'm providing all kinds of wonderful services to the community, that's also great. But one human value up to now is people like having a job, right? And so having its goals and behaviors align with human values, okay, maybe the future will be that people don't have those jobs. But if you're not taking that part of human values and objectives into consideration, you're already skipping a big piece of it, right? It's like you've already jumped ahead, and I don't know that they're thinking about that, right? When they write this, and maybe they are. I mean, it's broad enough that you could certainly apply it there. That's why I picked it out. Some of these others, human values, AI systems should be designed and operated so as to be compatible with ideals of human dignity, rights, freedoms, and cultural diversity. Well, again, the idea of working and earning your own living, a lot of the concept of human dignity is right there, isn't it?
Yeah, and why in the world would I design a car building robot that would care that it's taking someone's job? What further benefit could I get out of a car building robot that sits there and is depressed because it's taking someone's job?
Right.
I mean I get nothing out of that as the designer of that robot too.
That's right. It's because it's like the meta goals are unaligned, right? It's like the very existence of this thing is out of alignment with the.
That's right.
With the goals. So it's really tricky. I mean, you look at number 13. The application of AI to personal data must not unreasonably curtail people's real or perceived liberty. That one doesn't apply so much. 14. Shared benefit. All technologies should benefit and empower as many people as possible. That's the trick right there. Right? AI technology should benefit and empower as many people as possible, and it's the humans who are putting it in place that are going to make those decisions. Right. At least initially, and it's not up to the AIs.
The humans that put it in place are the rich people at the top that want to make more profit for themselves.
Right.
And I mean that's human nature. I mean we get up and go to work to make as much money as we possibly can before the end of the workday. That is what we do as people. And if that means that if we can make 10 times as much by firing a bunch of people and put robots in to do a better job, then I think that's going to happen, Phil. I don't know that that this can really be avoided.
The fact is, AI is being implemented, and these guidelines are not being adhered to. Right? That's the bottom line. AI has been showing up for years, and these guidelines are not being, no one has thought about these things. Or if they think about them, thinking, well, it'd be nice, but, I got to make my quarter. I mean, that's how business works. You have to make your quarter.
Right.
That's reality.
You miss your target, and all of a sudden the stock takes a hit. And
15, shared prosperity. The economic prosperity created by AI should be shared broadly to benefit all of humanity. Now, it doesn't matter how we are the world, kumbaya a message, Google or Apple or any of them tell, right? They don't really, buy that, right? I mean, no company that's making AI is following that that principle. I mean, they will indirectly. Right. The AI will benefit all of humanity, but I don't know. Maybe I'm too cynical on that one. What's that?
I think ultimately there'll be taxes placed on businesses that automate.
Yeah.
If you have robots that work for you and you cut the amount of that you're having to pay out in salary by 100,000, then guess what? You're a portion of that is going to be taxed and redistributed. I think that I think that is going to be part of the ultimate answer as jobs really do start to disappear. And I don't think that we've even seen the real beginning of that, Phil, because you lose your job here, you go find another job there. That's still happening. But I think ultimately there comes a point in which more and more jobs are automated, and at that point, at some point you just have to start taxing these robots. Taxing the businesses that use them, and then redistributing. I think that is. I don't know. What do you think? Is there a better answer than that?
What's interesting about that answer?
I don't really like that answer. I can tell you, I really don't like that answer.
What's interesting about that answer in this context, Stephen, is that you're then saying that it's the government that would have to come in, right, and impose these 23 principles, because business won't, right? They're not going to.
No, so business is not in the business of these principles. It's not.
Well,
the business of making money for.
Actually, I'm going to have to push back on that, Stephen. I'm not entirely sure that's true. The economic prosperity created by AI will be shared broadly, right? And it probably will benefit all of humanity in the same way that like internet technology has, right? It will become widely available and it will help everybody, but that's not why they're doing it, right?
To the extent that goods get cheaper and cheaper and cheaper.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I mean that's their argument. That's how they're.
To make them buck,
yeah, yeah. The AI company will say this is how we're making the world a better place, right? Because it's becoming cheaper and everybody's getting AI in their life, and I'm not sure. To me, by the time you get to number 15 and you think about who implements it and how you ensure it happens, you really do start to recognize that it's terra incognito, right? We're entering a new world, a whole new economic reality, and a lot of our expectations about how things have worked in the past are going to change. And it's all very well, and I think it's important probably to put together a list of 23 principles like this, but it's not even clear who would enforce them, who would ever obey them, or how they would be applied. So a lot of work to be done, I guess, in preventing the robo-economic apocalypse.
I guess so.
we got a ways to go. And on that happy note, let's geek out. What do you say?
I think so. I think we need to bring it back to something a little more fun, and a little more happy to finish out the week with.
So hey, folks, if you want to geek out, have you been watching shows on Netflix? We were talking before the show, and I was just recommending this Houdini series. If you haven't seen it, if you're interested in magic, if you're interested in Harry Houdini, this is a really good show. Adrian Brody stars as Eric Weiss, better known as the Great Houdini, and it's a really interesting inside his life, inside his mind kind of perspective on the whole life. I've only watched like the first one, but very, very interesting show. I'm looking forward to the whole series, and just kind of stumbled upon it. I'm just like Netflix recommended it, and I had no idea that show was even there. It seems to be what's happening with Netflix.
I've got to give it a chance. I have not seen that at all, and of course, I've been impressed. With several different series, and what's funny is you get into them, and you say, okay, well, this looks interesting. I'll watch a single episode, and then like 9 hours later.
Yeah, right. Yeah, when season 2 come out? Yeah, exactly.
That's right. I'm going. One more season of the show, and I'm calling it quits for the night. I promise. Anyway, binge watching is kind of a strange thing that Netflix has enabled. But Stranger Things, of course, I've mentioned. It's incredible. It's great. Have you seen it yet?
Stranger Things, absolutely. Yeah, I watched it over the course of about 3 days. Yeah.
Yeah, I one long weekend I got it in, and of course it's been renewed. And Halloween we get the second series. We'll launch on Halloween of this year, so I'm looking forward to that. Some of the best stuff with the Marvel Cinematic Universe on television. I mean, forget Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I mean, forget that stuff. Go to Netflix and you'll see interesting television series with Marvel Cinematic Universe characters. I mean, we've got Daredevil on there, and Luke Cage, and what they're doing is they're assembling the Defenders instead of the Avengers. These are the Defenders.
Right. The Defenders will be on Netflix. Exactly. Yeah. Avengers and Defenders on Netflix.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean every single one of those. Jessica Jones, they're all great, and looks like they're getting a couple of, at least one more character is going to get his series. I forget the name of that character now, but before they launched the Defenders, and that's great. But hey, I've enjoyed something that's a little whimsical and kind of offbeat. It's a series of unfortunate events. TV series, not the movie. And of course, another Netflix series, and it's got Neil Patrick Harris as the bad guy.
Okay.
And it got Patrick Warburton as Lemony Snicket, the narrator. And I mean, and some really, really talented young actors playing the kids, and it's just this weird hoot. I mean, it's fun in the honest sort of way. I don't know how to explain it. Just say you have to watch it. You'll enjoy it.
Hey, how old of a group of kids would you need to have to watch that show? Who's it good for?
Your kids probably are a little young. I would say 10 years of age would be fine. There's at least one instance of Neil Patrick Harris's a character just striking one of the children. I mean, it was and you think, wow, that's pretty rough. Well, the way they handled it, it was they handled it in such a way that it sort of gave refuge to the viewer, if that makes sense. But it's I don't know that I would show it to kids any younger than say 10 or so.
Okay.
But it's I think you would find it very interesting and enjoyable. It's kind of a strange little show.
I'll definitely check it out. And by the way, if you liked Stranger Things, you should check out the OA. I don't know if did you see that show? It's kind of similar in some ways to Stranger Things, although also just about as different of a show as it could be. But you might if you're interested in genre fiction, I can't even say what genre the OA is in, but check it out.
It might be a spoiler to say what genre it is. Okay.
Well, actually, it would be a spoiler to me because I watched a whole season of it and I couldn't tell you. So,
okay. All right. But you have recommended that one before, and I still haven't gotten around to it. I'll definitely have to take a look.
Yeah, I want somebody else to watch it so I can talk to somebody about it. So, if you don't mind, please watch the OA.
Okay. For purposes of your edification, Phil, I'll do that.
I do appreciate that.
I won't. Whatever I can do. Right?
What are geeks for, huh? Exactly.
That's right.
Oh, wait, I'm looking at this and I realized suddenly that the Houdini series is a History Channel production. It was not a Netflix original series after all. It was a Netflix recommendation to me, and somehow I got that confused with the Netflix series. So, sorry about that, folks, for any confusion. Houdini, good series, History Channel series, not a Netflix series. But other than that, I think I think everything else we've said has been pretty much true this evening.
That's right.
All right. Well, hey, Stephen, great stuff. Good talking with you this week about a variety of topics. Great to end it with a fun Geek Out session. We're going to be back again next week with 3 brand new shows and, of course, 2 more dips into the archive. Look forward to being with you all then. And until next time, live to see it.